Hey, what's up guys? Okay, so the main focus of this week's chapter is actually on the fight between Homura and Milani, the Ocean 6 member who trapped her inside the mirror in the last chapter, and then at the very end we come back over to Jin, going to explore the explosion that happened to Shiki in the last chapter. Now, because there's not really much of that in this chapter, I'm actually going to start the video off by talking about that. And basically what it comes down to is that Jin actually lands, he sees the wreckage of the explosion, realizes that the explosion actually was a lot bigger than he originally thought, and then while he's searching for Shiki, he ends up coming across the charred remains of something that got caught up in the explosion. Now, it's heavily implied to be Shiki at the end of the chapter, but we don't get a clear view of it because of the smoke. Now, obviously, because Shiki is the main character, he's most likely going to end up being fine from the explosion. If anything, that'll probably end up just being his jacket that gets left behind. And the only way I could see this possibly being Shiki that Jin finds at the end of the chapter is if in the next chapter or the next few chapters, Jin takes Shiki back to the ship, he ends up coming across shore and fights against him by himself, and then while they're fighting, Sister takes Shiki and displays in a level of healing abilities that we've never seen her display before, that actually ends up healing him back to perfect health so that he can go back and have a rematch against Shura. So yeah, I pretty much have no doubt that Shiki's going to end up being fine from that explosion, and if anything, they're going to imply that Shiki died by having Jin find Shiki's torn up jacket or something. Now cutting over to the fight between Homura and Milani, this fight was actually pretty interesting and was actually well drawn to almost seem like it was animated on the pages, and the way that Homura really fights off against Milani in the chapter really showcases how much stronger she's become after training with Zeno for that week, because she is pretty much, it's not really clear when you first read it, but when you go back and reread it for the third time, it's pretty clear that in the beginning of this fight, Homura really is very dominant. Yeah, she's more on the defensive, but Milani's not managing to land a single attack on her until she gets to the point where she actually tricks Homura into attacking the mirror and revealing that one of her abilities is that if Homura is reflected in the mirror, then any damage that she does to the mirror gets reflected back onto her, which does put Homura in a little bit of a bind during the chapter, until she gets to the point where she really just stops caring about doing any damage to herself if it means that she can actually land attacks on Milani. And actually, speaking of Milani, reading her in the chapter actually was kind of interesting because based on her personality, it became hard for me to understand that she was recruited by Poseidon Nero himself. She seemed more like the kind of character that would actually be recruited by Shura than Poseidon Nero, because even though we did kind of get a reveal a few chapters ago that Nero actually is kind of evil and actually only out for himself, he does still seem like the kind of guy that's honorable. And based on the way that Milani acts in this chapter, she doesn't seem like the honorable personality type. And it really wasn't until my third reading of her dialogue in this chapter, where she talks about being a handpicked member of the Ocean 6, that I remember that actually Poseidon Nero recruited her, not Shura. But we've seen her spend so much time with Shura over these past few chapters since her introduction, and her personality seems to align better with him than did Nero, that I kind of forgotten that fact. In fact, it actually goes along with pretty much every member of the Ocean 6 besides Fabiano. Pretty much every single one of them seem closer in line with Shura's personality than they do Poseidon Nero's. So it kind of did make me question why Nero would hire these people to be kind of his generals when you expect more people like Fabiano to be the higher ups in Nero's army. But then I remember that Nero heavily relies on his dice to tell him the future. So more than likely, he actually used his dice to kind of determine who he should hire or who he should promote to be members of the Ocean 6. And it just came out that these four people were the ones that he chose. Now, getting back to the fight, the way Milani actually uses her mirror ability, which is actually called Mirror Trick, is actually kind of interesting. Even though they're already trapped inside the mirror world, she's still able to freely move around inside mirrors. So I guess it's kind of like her being inside a mirror inside of a mirror, which is actually the joke that Homura makes in the chapter. But not only can she travel through mirrors, she can actually travel through the shards of mirrors as well. So there's a moment in the chapter where she actually breaks a mirror freely without touching it, and sends the shards right at Homura. And then while Homura's deflecting, she ends up realizing that she's actually inside the shards as well. And her using the shards of mirrors as kind of portals gives her the ability to kind of attack Homura from multiple directions all at once, just using her hands and feet. Kind of like she's actually using Robin's ability from One Piece, where she can create multiple clones of her body parts to attack her opponent. That's actually what she ends up doing to Homura in the chapter. After she actually kind of corners Homura into basically attacking herself, she uses the distraction to kind of grab Homura with her hands and feet, and then sends multiple clones of her fists to attack Homura all at once from different directions, which does actually a lot of damage to Homura, and we actually get to see Homura is pretty beat up. But like I said earlier, once Homura stops caring about doing damage to herself by attacking the mirror shards that are reflected in her own body, she ends up basically turning the tables on Milani by using a counterattack, which is called Odin's Strike, that sends out multiple versions of her sword to destroy all the mirror shards in the area. So seemingly Milani is defeated, and we actually end up getting the big reveal that Homura activated her Overdrive ability, which gives her the appearance of kind of like a fox demi-human, which is actually kind of cool. I'm actually looking forward to seeing exactly how that looks colored, because right now she just has pure white hair. So I'm wondering if her hair does change white, or if it just changes to a different, lighter version of her current purplish blue hair. But anyway, that's pretty much the end of the chapter, where we actually get to reveal that Homura through the 7 days of training with Zenith actually achieved being able to activate her Overdrive. But anyway guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. Comment down below what you thought about it. Do you enjoy seeing Homura fight against Milani? Do you agree with me that Milani seems more along the lines of someone that Shura would recruit than Poseidon Arrow? And are you excited by the fact that we actually got to see Homura's brand new Overdrive ability? Let me know in the comment section down below. But that's it for the video guys. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.